Welcome to the 12 Report with Blessings Musugu, and these are the headlines. Demonstration continues at National Assembly as debate on Electoral Act resumes. EFCC detains former Kaduna Governor El-Rufai as DSS files a 3-count charge. 3 arraigned for killing Nigerian ride-hailing driver in South Africa. And we have our reporters stationed in different parts of the country. Joshua Imarai, Sagir Ibrahim and Idong Joseph are on standby in Abuja, while Amenzi Bazwai joins from Edo. And of course, we're outside the country. Afia Hagan is on standby in London. We've got the details in a moment. Let's start now with the controversy surrounding the electoral reform as demonstrations continue at the National Assembly, where protesters are demanding that lawmakers adopt the House of Representatives version of the Electoral Act amendment, especially the provision mandating real-time transmission of election results. The protesters, who turned out in large numbers, insist they will not back down until their demands are met. We're joined now by our correspondent, Joshua Imarai, who is at the protest ground as we speak. Joshua, this has been going on now for days, and yesterday we had a few protesters speak. What is the situation now? We can see the tear gas. What's happening?
Well, it is a rain of tear gas, as you can see. The entire arrangement here has been distorted by the Nigerian police force. As you can see, we are trying to make our way out of the scene because it is raining tear gas canisters upon tear gas canisters. Few moments away, the Nigerian police force approached with extra vans, with extra policemen, and they are raining tear gas. As you can see from the visuals, the protesters are trying to make their way out of the National Assembly. They are still pumping tear gas upon tear gas on demonstrators. As you can see from the video, you can see the smoke. The smoke is gradually taking the atmosphere here at the front of the National Assembly. We are seeking to take refuge at the grave of the unknown soldier, a place that is actually kept for sanity's sake, but unfortunately, this is what we have seen. It is raining tear gas upon tear gas. The policemen are not relenting, and this is what you see from the picture.
I would like to ask that you please stay safe, move as far away as possible while you still keep tabs on what's happening. I would also like to find out, I don't know if you can still hear me, earlier on we heard Moelishuore and some protesters saying that they would not back down until their demands are met. Is it because of this agitation and this intensity that, this situation escalated this much?
Well, earlier on, the likes of Moelishuore, Adewale Adebayo, OBSD Kwisili, as well as the former Minister of Youth and Sport Development, Solomon Dalong, they were all here and they were briefing. But all of a sudden, the entire situation spiraled out of control, and the spontaneity of the moment, the policemen here started dispersing tear gas from their guns. And as you can see, they've distorted the entire demonstration. Issa El-Buba, who was earlier briefing, was affected. Now, but there is something different from this tear gas, because whenever it's being dispersed, we feel some sort of peppery feeling on our skin. It is not like the usual one we know, but what we can see is that Nigerians are no longer here anymore. They've taken refuge in various places. And if you can see, some of the demonstrations are trying to take refuge in the buses that convey them here, and the policemen are clamping down on them so hard. You can see from the pictures. We are trying to move closer so we can get a better view of what is currently happening. This is what is happening. They are clamping down hard on the demonstrators. Everyone has taken refuge in any area they can, and as you can see from the pictures, they are lining up so the buses can convey them to an area of safety. So this is what is happening here at the National Assembly basin. It is a distasteful situation, and we hope that things get better on. Blessings.
I mean, it's quite unfortunate, Joshua, that we're still in a country where peaceful protest is met with this kind of agitation from the security forces. Do you think, from your own perspective on ground, that this has frustrated the efforts of the protesters? Because earlier on, they were hell-bent on not backing down with their demands. But with all of this now, we can see the protesters lining up to get back into the vehicle that conveyed them. Do you think that that is the end of the protest for today, or, for an infinite time?
Well, one thing we cannot say for sure if these individuals who were dispersed here will be back here, because the treatment meted out to them by the Nigerian police was particularly it's unbecoming, because no one would want to come and face this particular treatment they faced earlier on. But one thing they said earlier was that no matter what happens, no matter the gimmick, no matter the reaction from any policeman, they'll be back here to press home their demand that election results should be transmitted in real time. So that is what they are saying. But we will be monitoring the situation, because this is a developing situation, and we'll keep our fingers on the pulse. Blessings.
Sorry that you're affected by this. We'll still like to have you on standby to give us an update on what's happening as it unfolds around your area. But meanwhile, the National Assembly has reconvened for an emergency plenary session this morning to address critical issues ahead of the 2027 general elections. Now, the recall, directed by Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Speaker Abbas Tajuddin, follows the Independent National Electoral Commission's release of the official election timetable. Lawmakers had earlier adjourned until February 24 for budget defense sessions, but the urgency of electoral matters prompted an early return. Now, top of the agenda is harmonizing the Electoral Act, Amendment Bill 2026. Both chambers are expected to tackle contentious provisions, including electronic transmission of results and the alignment of election dates with the 2027 Ramadan period. And now, similarly, the House of Representatives has reconvened an emergency sit-in on electoral matters. Now, according to the House spokesperson, Akin Rotimi, the session will review issues arising from the recently announced 2027 general election timetable by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Right now, we have Idong Joseph, who has been keeping tabs on this development and will be giving us an update. I think we would also be joining Joshua Marai shortly. But in the meantime, Idong Joseph, what key changes or concerns will the House focus on regarding the 2027 elections? All right, we'll be joining Idong Joseph very shortly. Apologies for that. But in the meantime, let's go back to Joshua Marai. There seems to be an update. Joshua, if you can hear us, I hope that you're in a safe place covering this. What is the update on the situation? All right, while we're waiting for Joshua to speak, what you see now is the police clamping down hard on the protesters. Joshua did mention earlier that the protesters were trying to get into the vehicle that conveyed them to the protest ground. But now we can see a young man who seemingly is being manhandled by the security operatives. I'm hoping that Joshua would help us shed more light on the reason why that is. And we can still see traces of tear gas around. In the meantime, some people are still taking shelter in the buses that conveyed them. Joshua, if we can hear Joshua, if you can hear us, please confirm. All right, all of this is as a result of the protests over the real-time results transmission. The protesters have said that they would not back down until their demands are met, but we have not heard anything from the Assembly just yet, and this is all leading up to the 2027 elections. As you can see, Nigerians are not taking anything for granted this time around. They're putting their feet on the ground, regardless of the backlash that they're meeting. In the meantime, let's try to circle back now to Idong Joseph to find out what the update is. All right, while we wait for Idong Joseph, away from all of this, former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai has been detained by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in Abuja over alleged corruption and abuse of office during his tenure from 2015 to 2023. Now, investigators are examining findings from a Kaduna State Assembly probe into loans, contract, and financial dealings under his administration. Now, separately, the Department of State Services has filed a 3-count charge at the Federal High Court of Nigeria in Abuja, alleging unlawful interception of communications involving National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu. The DSS says the alleged offences contravene the Cybercrimes Amendment Act 2024 and the Nigerian Communications Act 2003. And our residents in Edo State have given the Benin Electricity Distribution Company, BEDC, a 14-day ultimatum over prolonged blackouts and alleged exploitative estimated billing. The group organized Edo people against the oppressive tendencies of BEDC is demanding immediate action and warns failure to comply could spark mass protests. All right, now we go back to the reconvening of the House of Representatives, which is an emergency seating on electoral matters. And we have News Central's Idong Joseph, who's on standby to give us more. Idong Joseph, what is the update from your end?
Okay, just as I was saying before, we lost the audio. Behind me is the chamber for the House of Representatives, where lawmakers have reconvened for an emergency session, which of course, they are supposed to resume back on the 24th of this month, and they've resumed today. All to look at the timetable, electoral matters regarding the timetable which INEC had released last week. And for like 30 minutes now, lawmakers have been in a closed-door session, all resulting from a tension that broke out after the Speaker of the House ruled over what other lawmakers, majority of lawmakers had shouted a nay against, and that is the Electoral Amendment Act. The House had said that... Okay, Blessings, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead, loud and clear.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. So as I was saying, when the session resumed, lawmakers had earlier started with just an agenda, which is the rescission of the Electoral Act, which was passed in December, on the 23rd of December 2025. And they said they want to rescind that decision and look at some of the provisions, some of the clauses that were passed in December, considering that the election now, the timetable for the next general election is out, and seeing that it might affect the general election, they want to consider some of those clauses. And so when the Speaker of the House raised the motion and called on this, the majority leader of the House, Julius Ihombere, to read the motion so that it will be put into a voice vote. After the House leader had done that, the Speaker put that into a voice vote, and the voice of the nay overshadowed that of the aye, and at the end of the day, the Speaker of the House had to rule and said the ayes have it. And that broke tension in the House, leading to a noisy session, which the Speaker later called for an executive session. For over 30 minutes now, behind me, the chamber, they have been in an executive session, waiting. We're waiting for them to come out, and let's know what the resolution of that session is, though still on the electoral matter.
All right, Idong Joseph there with the reconvening at the Assembly, and definitely he's still there to give us more updates. But in the meantime, let's go back again to Joshua Imurai, if we can get his audio to give us an update on what's happening at the protest ground. Joshua, can you hear us?
Well, you heard from the gentleman, he's not the only driver here. Another driver was beaten and he was stripped down to the boxers. We are trying to get the other driver. Peter, please, can you come on? Look at some women affected there. People affected there. The entire has involved into a situation of control. Policemen beating some of the protesters. We have them on video. You can see, man. If you can see here, the attention. As you can see now, she's video, but the police, they pour tear gas on peaceful protesters. Yes. What happened? We are here to make our peaceful demand. We want mandatory real-time transmission of results. In our peaceful agitation, criminal elements in government have begun again, ordering tear gas canisters and substance to be brought in people. Look at the way more than 3 women are fainted inside the bus. More than 3 women are fainted. They came to do a peaceful protest. The current administration is clamping down on peaceful protesters. A government that cannot go out to take out terrorists. Government that cannot find bandits. The people they know how to attack are peaceful protesters. Why are they afraid of free and fair election? Who is afraid of free and fair election? This government wants to have more than 30 governors. The entire National Assembly, judiciary, INEC, everybody is standing on the mandate they shall collapse. Yet they are afraid of free and fair election. We are not better than those that are dying in Benue. We hear that some of the demonstrators have been taken into custody by the Nigerian police. They have released the one of the game. We have won the game was taken into custody. We have released anyone that was taken into custody. Shot directly at protesters for demanding free and fair election. Officers, yes, you're handling some of the drivers. Yes, what happened? It is a shame. Shame on Tinubu, shame on Akpabio that law enforcement have become weaponized against the Nigerian people. Police that their salary and pension after 35 years is not up to even getting a one-room self-contained. Nigerians are here protesting for on their behalf. They are throwing tear gas and arresting peaceful protesters. We will not stop. We will not be deterred. Hold on. We are not better than people who are being killed in Kwara. We are not better than people who are dying in Benue. We are not better than people who are being killed in Plateau. For how long will Nigerian leaders continue to kill citizens instead of doing the right thing? Our vote must count. The power of the people must be greater than the criminals in power. Their time is up. Akpabio, your time is up. Tinubu and your gang of political bandits, your time is up. We say no to criminality in government. It will not work. Our vote must. Our vote must. Our vote must. Thank you very much. You heard from Peter Aka, one of the leaders of this protest, and as you heard him say, they are not relenting. They are doubling down, and their demands must be given to. Over to you, Blessings.
All right, Joshua Marai there with the update on the protest, and we heard from Peter Aka, one of the lead activists on this protest, demanding that the election be free and fair, and of course it be transmitted free and fairly for everyone to see. Many thanks for staying with us on the news. Now, we did say earlier that residents in Edo State have given the Benin Electricity Distribution Company a 14-day ultimatum over prolonged blackout and alleged exploitative estimated billing. And right now, we have News Central's Amenze Bazwai, who is on standby to give us more updates from Benin City. Amenze, what are the key demands that this group and the people of Benin generally are making?
Hi, good afternoon, Blessings. I'm actually here with some of the members of a group actually set up together to ensure that what they describe as oppressive tendencies of the Benin electricity distribution company are cut short. I'm here with the coordinator, Comrade Emmanuel Obidi. Basically, they've given the BEDC about 14 days ultimatum to act right, according to them, and of course, ensure that electricity distribution is spread across every part of the base. We've heard complaints from various communities that some persons do not even have light. They've not had light for about 3-4 months. Some who actually even get to see power supply in their area, they get to see it for like 2-3 hours the entire day. And so it has spurred this unrest, has spurred this outcry by this particular group. I'm here with the coordinator, like I said, Comrade Obidi. I'm going to be speaking to him very briefly. Comrade, good afternoon. Just talk to us briefly. Tell us, what are your demands? You've given the BEDC 14 days ultimatum. If after the 14 days ultimatum they do not come through with the demands you've given, what would you do? What would be the next step?
Okay, thank you very much. Very quickly, before the demand, what are the issues, the existential threat of BEDC activities to Edo people as it is today? We pay for light and we are getting darkness. Okay, the oppressive tendencies of BEDC have gotten to an alarming level. As it is today, meters that the federal government has told us that is free, both for installation and all what have you. Meters is between 150,000 naira to 400,000 naira in Edo State. That's if they agree to give you. Then we have communities who have been in darkness within 3 to 6 months, and some 1 year plus. BEDC, we compare communities to buy poles, to buy transformer, and buy cables. As if that is not enough, they will have to undergo an undertaking that they are fully donating these equipment to BEDC. Before BEDC, we agreed to install those equipment, and yet, when the month comes to an end, they give them bill. So it's as if the people are not responsible in sponsoring, maintaining, and taking care of BEDC. Yet, we pay bill. Telecommunications all over the country, what we do is just to buy our data and buy our airtime. We don't know how they fix and how they maintain their equipment. But Edo people are the ones maintaining the equipment and infrastructures for BEDC. Our demands are very simple. BEDC must now wake up to its responsibility of distribution of electricity and power to Edo people. And we are demanding the unsolicited migration, thereby increasing tariff from the back door, must be reversed with immediate effect. We are also demanding that going forward, BEDC must publish every 1 meter. Individuals who have benefited from the free meter distribution of the federal government, for us to know those who they are giving meter and how much they are paid for the purpose of accountability and transparency. And we are calling on all well-meaning Nigerians, authorities, and stakeholders to prevail on BEDC, because we are engaging them as very civil and responsible citizens in Edo State for them to turn a new leaf and turn all of these issues around. If not, Edo people will have no choice than to rise up and defend themselves, because we cannot be paying for services that are not rendered. We cannot be responsible for buying equipment and materials for BEDC for them to make their business a profit. It is evil, it is demonic, and we are tired. So we are calling on the Minister of Power available to bring his searchlight in a Edo State issue. As a matter of fact, Edo State is a site for him to visit as a matter of urgency, so that we can address these atrocities of BEDC in Edo State and beyond. That's our demand.
All right, thank you so much, Comrade. Let's talk with you briefly. Just give us your name a little bit, and then, of course, talk to us about what next steps you would take if after the 14 days expires and nothing is still done.
I remember humble self, Comrade Hope Ilongeru, human rights activist. We have given the BEDC our demand. We have asked.
And now, Borno State Governor Professor Babangida Zulum has commenced the distribution of 2026 Ramadan palliatives to 300,000 families across the state, 27 local government areas. The flag-off ceremony in Maiduguri highlights the government's effort to ease economic hardship ahead of the holy month of Ramadan. News Central's Umaru Kirawa reports.
In preparation for the 2026 Ramadan fast, Governor Babagana Zulum arrived at the Ramat Square in Maiduguri to launch the large-scale distribution of food items to vulnerable households across the state.
We are here to officially flag off the distribution of 2026 Ramadan Kareem palliatives to 300,000 bottom poor population in the state.
Governor Zulum said the intervention is aimed at reducing hardship, promoting social welfare, and enabling families to observe Ramadan with dignity.
The business of government is not just about building roads and bridges, so it is important. It is also about building bridges and compassion. It is about ensuring that as we plan for the long-term prosperity of the state, we do not lose sight of the immediate hunger that might be knocking on someone's door.
Yakaka Ali, a mother of 8, was among the beneficiaries. She expressed gratitude after receiving her allocation. The state government also provided free transportation for beneficiaries to return home safely with their items. Officials say the exercise is part of deliberate efforts to support low-income households across Borno State. They added that strict monitoring mechanisms have been put in place to ensure transparency and accountability.
Almost now 6 years, he put smile for our people in Maiduguri and Jere. So actually we don't have anything to say thanking the governor of Borno State.
The distribution continues, targeting widows, internally displaced persons, the elderly and persons with disabilities across the state. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
All right, now, Umaru Kirawa is on standby to give us more updates on this. Kirawa, we have seen the report, and it's such a beautifully executed report. But what more can you tell us about this?
Well, it's important to note that this is not the first time that the Borno State government is distributing palliatives, particularly ahead of the festive season, the Ramadan, and of course, even during Christmas, and when Christians, faithfuls are traveling home, the Borno State government provides such type of lift. Right. However, we have the chairman of the distribution committee, Senator Kakashe Ulawan San, who will tell us more with regard to why this initiative is happening.
Thank you very much. One of the policies of His Excellency's administration is the provision of basic social amenities. And during festive periods like the Ramadan fast, as well as the Christmas celebration period, His Excellency the Governor, in his mutual magnanimity, approved fund for the provision of food and non-food items to cushion the effect of the Ramadan fast and other festive periods that the faithfuls are going to observe. Today marks the flagging up of the 2026 Ramadan palliative distribution. And it would interest you to note that about 300,000 households across the state are set to benefit from this gesture.
Who are those households? Are you targeting the vulnerables, and what are you people giving them?
Well, the target audience are the less privileged members of the society and low-income earners. And what we are giving them comprised of 25 kg bag of rice, 25 kg bag of millet, and sugar 10 kg. This is what we give to each and every beneficiary. So within the metropolis and its environs, about 115,000 households are set to benefit, whereas the others will be distributed across the 25 local government areas of the state, making it 27. So we also selected 2 other local governments, that is Mafa and Konduga, which were already annexed to the capital city as a result of the organization.
Are you people also taking these food items to some of the hard-to-reach locations now that peace is takeable?
Every nook and cranny. We are not bedeviled by the security challenge we have in Borno State. And the last couple of days, we travel, His Excellency leads the team to as far as Baga, as far as Manufacturing in Abadam, and the Kalabalgi in Borno Central. We go to Kerala, your own hometown, and other hard-to-reach areas. So reaching these areas is not a problem to us at all. We are determined and we are poised to reach.
Thank you so much. Well, that has been the chairman of the distribution committee. Telling us the essence of the distribution of the food items, and they are not deterred by the security situation in the state, and they are taking these food items to hard-to-reach communities.
All right, Omori Karawa there, thank you for the update on the 2026 Ramadan relief. Now, the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies has called for the diversification of the nation's economy through the growth of entrepreneurship, sustainable development, and national cohesion. The Director General of the Institute, Professor Ayo Omotayo, made this known during his address at the inauguration ceremony of participants of the Institute's Senior Executive Course 48, which held at NIPSS headquarters in Kuru, Plateau State. Chizoba Anyowe reports.
This strategic leadership course is an annual event where various ministries, departments, and agencies sponsor candidates for a 10-month course to contribute their quota towards improving Nigeria's economy and sustainable development. The Director General of NIPS, Professor Ayo Omotayo, says the course will deepen strategic thinking and help respond to challenges confronting Nigeria.
Today's ceremony marks the official commencement of what is going to be a rigorous 10-month intellectual and leadership engagement designed to sharpen strategic thinking, deepen policy insight, and strengthen the capacity of senior executives to respond effectively to the complex governance and development of challenges confronting Nigeria.
After taking their inauguration oath, administered by Justice Arom Ashoms, Governor Caleb Mutfwang, represented by his deputy, assured of his administration's commitment to strategic partnership with NIPS.
Let me assure you that Plateau State will continue to provide a conducive environment for learning, research, and strategic engagement with NIPS. We see this partnership as a mutually beneficial one that strengthens institutional capacity while contributing to national policy discourse and reform.
One of the participants expressed her expectations at the end of the course.
It enables one to be abreast of policies in the nation, especially the one we're going to be involving with. That's the orange economy, to build a sustainable economy for the nation. And this helps us to be able to formulate policies.
With this inauguration over and done with, expectations are high, both from the participants and the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, that Nigeria will have a better platform for national cohesion. In Plateau State, for News Central, Chizoba Anyowe.
And to business now. Nigeria's food inflation slowed sharply to 8.89% year-on-year in January 2026, its lowest level in over 14 years, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Headline inflation also eased marginally to 15.10% from 15.15% in December, defying projections of a spike. The Bureau linked the moderation to lower prices for staples and exchange rate stability. However, the organized private sector urged caution, noting that high living costs persist despite slower price growth. Now, while improved agricultural output and currency stability supported the trend, business leaders warned that elevated 12-month averages reflect lingering inflationary pressures across the economy. Still in business, oil prices were mixed in Asian trade as investors weighed supply risks after Iran held naval drills near the Strait of Hormuz ahead of nuclear talks with the U.S. Brent crude fell 0.47% to $68.33 per barrel, while West Texas Intermediate rose to $63.51. Market sentiment remains sensitive to diplomatic signals, sustaining a geopolitical risk premium. Analysts expect continued volatility. CT said Brent could ease to $60 to $62 per barrel if Iran and Russia-Ukraine agreements materialize. OPEC Plus is reportedly considering raising output from April amid expectations of stronger summer demand. And still to come, United States civil rights leader Jesse Jackson dies at 84. The details after this break. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. Now to foreign stories. 3 South Africans face murder charges after a shocking dashcam video captured the strangling death of Bolt driver Isaac Satlat during a robbery in Pretoria West. The footage shows a man and woman tussling with 22-year-old Satlat, an automotive engineer student, weeks from graduation before he goes limp. They stole his phone and car, later recovered. The trio, Dikeledi Tears Mfela, Goisoni Machidi, and McLaren Mushwana, abandoned bail bids in court on Monday and were remanded. A 4th suspect surrendered the same day. Now, veteran American activist Jesse Jackson has died at 84. His family said his lifelong commitment to justice and equality inspired generations. Jackson rose to prominence as a close associate of Martin Luther King Jr. He founded Operation Push and the Rainbow Coalition to advance social justice and ran for the Democratic presidential nomination in 1984 and 1988. His campaigns boosted African American participation in national politics, paving the way for Barack Obama's 2008 election. Jackson also served as a mediator in international missions and as a special envoy for Africa under President Bill Clinton. His family urged supporters to continue advocating for civil rights. And now for more on this, I'm joined by News Central's senior international correspondent and anchor Afia Hagan. Afia, the cause of death hasn't been confirmed just yet, but he had been living with Parkinson's disease. How significant was his health battle in recent years?
It's clear that Jesse Jackson's health battle with Parkinson's in recent years was really significant because it slowed down his mobility, it slowed down his movements, and it affected his speech. And we saw him less. Public appearances were rarer, and when we did see him, we saw him with mobility issues. He was often in a wheelchair and often couldn't speak that much. But he still had that moral voice. He was still standing up for rights, everywhere that he could, every chance he was able to do that. And I think actually that's what's made it really, really powerful. He was still this bridge between the civil rights movement of the 1960s and where we are today. So even though Parkinson's disease affected him physically and affected his speech, he still had that moral voice and he still showed up where he could.
So Jesse Jackson is often described as a giant of the civil rights era. What made him stand out?
He was consistent, he was ambitious, he kept going where others absolutely would have given up. Jesse Jackson worked very closely with Martin Luther King Jr. and he was actually with him in Memphis when King was shot in 1968. And some activists, remained solely on the protests, and some activists gave up. after King was shot. But Jackson moved into institutional power because he knew that's where real change could be made. That's where he founded Operation Push and later the Rainbow Push Coalition, because it was about building economic and political leverage for Black Americans. So he wasn't just someone who was out there marching, as we see here. He wasn't just someone who would show up at protests, show up at marches. He was a strategist. He was about how can we bring institutional power to Black Americans, and not just Black Americans, to poor people, to women, to members of the LGBT plus community. It was about getting out the vote for absolutely everyone. So that's where the difference was really with Jesse Jackson, is that as well as being an activist and as well as being a marcher, he was someone who wanted to change things institutionally.
So Jesse Jackson ran for president twice. How groundbreaking were those campaigns?
Those campaigns, you cannot underestimate really how groundbreaking those campaigns were. He ran for president in 1984 and again in 1988, and more than paved the way for Barack Obama's presidential nominations that came some 20 years later. Jesse Jackson was about building the infrastructure and the machinery for more people to vote. He was about, getting out the Black vote, making sure that institutionally Black people could vote and poor people could vote and poor white farmers could vote. One of the most iconic pictures of Jesse Jackson during his campaigns was him surrounded by these white farmers in the South. This was due to an issue that white farmers were having in the South. There was a farming crisis, and he spoke up for them, as well as Black voters, as well as women, as well as for the working class of poor people in America. And so he, through the Rainbow Coalition and through Operation Push, made sure that the infrastructure was there for everybody to vote, changed the way the Democratic Party was from the inside out. And although he didn't get the nominations in 84 or 88, what he did was galvanize communities, the Black community, the Latino community, women, working class people, poor white farmers, galvanized everybody to vote, to use their institutional right and power to vote. And that was so groundbreaking and more than enabled Barack Obama, to secure the presidency in 2008 and onwards.
All right, there you have it, the life and time of Jesse Jackson, given to us by News Central's senior international correspondent and anchor, Afia Hagan. Thanks for the update. Now, the just concluded Argungu International Fishing Festival has once again reminded Nigerians that our culture is more than tradition. It's an economic opportunity waiting to be fully explored. What do I mean? Now, thousands gathered in Kebbi State recently to witness fishermen compete using age-old methods that have survived for generations. The festival brought color, unity, local commerce, proving that Nigeria's heritage still has the power to attract attention far beyond its borders. But here's the bigger question. If festivals like Argungu International Fishing Festival, the Ujudioba Festival, and even the Ovia of Osesa Festival that I covered in April can pull large crowds, why is tourism in Nigeria still struggling to grow? Now, governments have spoken about repositioning tourism and using culture to diversify the economy, but yet the results remain slow. Now, we're not saying that efforts are not being made, but maybe it's just not fast enough. Cultural celebrations come alive for a few days, then disappear from the global spotlight because the structure around them is weak. The challenge is not a lack of culture. We have a lot. We're rich in culture. It's a lack of coordination. Tourism needs better infrastructure, consistent branding, strong security assurance, and partnerships that connect airlines, hospitality, roads, creatives, and digital storytelling. Without these, festivals remain seasonal events instead of year-round economic drivers. Nigeria has what many countries spend years trying to create: authentic culture, vibrant communities, stories that the world wants to see. In fact, our language is a tourist attraction. And the real question is whether we are ready to move beyond just celebrating culture and build a tourism industry that protects our heritage, attracts global visitors, and boosts our revenue, turns culture into sustainable national revenue. And that's your postscript. Now, before we go, let's take a look at what's happening in the sporting world. Ogun State athletes disrupted the 474.8 million naira Gateway Games 2024 reward ceremony on Monday, protesting what they called an unfair distribution of prize money and highlighting broader concerns over athlete welfare. Udoka Njoku is on standby, and Udoka, you have more for us?
Yeah, of course, this is a case of what you ordered versus what you got. The athletes are clamoring for what they were promised during the 2024 Gateway Games, and they are not getting exactly what was promised them. And the government are claiming that they had to spend more for that game. But of course, give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. The athletes deserve what they are supposed to get, and they should get them. I will surely talk about this and more when the game kicks off shortly.
Most definitely. Well, stay tuned for In the Games. That's all from us end on the 12th report. Remember to send in your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen, because we want to see what you see. Also, to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Gold TV channel 23, Star Times 274, Avo TV, and of course live on YouTube. All right, we'll definitely be circling back to Joshua Imarai to give us more updates on the protest for the electoral transmission. But in the meantime, it's all from the 12th report, and we will be handing over to Joshua shortly. All right, Joshua, if you can hear me, can you give us a quick update before we go?
Well, good afternoon once again to you, Blessings. Well, what we are currently seeing around me here is that policemen are taking over the venue of the protest. We have them in their numbers, particularly in droves of vehicles, because if you should look around, and if my cameraman will be kind enough to turn around, you see some of them are actually scattered around here. They are actively engaging protesters, and as you can see, they are on standby with their tear gas canisters, with their guns and their entire accoutrement to capture that security here is on ground. But earlier on, it was a rain of canisters upon canisters. The policemen came, they invaded on all sides. They came raining tear gas on the protesters, and the protesters camped out for their safety. Most of the protesters who earlier on were boarding buses, they left already. But what we are seeing is that some pockets of policemen are actively engaging the protesters. Most of them have left already, but the few ones who chose to stay behind are particularly from the movement of credible election. As you can see them in their vest, actively engaging the police officers. So that is what we have here, but we are seeing that calm. But maybe I can speak to one of them who, so good afternoon, sir. You are live on television. So, okay. How would you say is the entire scene?